Recently, my son is learning about money. He's about 4 years old, and he's super curious about just seeing the greenbacks and being able to see how we transact money, what it's used for, how it feels, what it looks like. And he has no clue, zero context about how money is made. So we were at a festival here in San Diego, and we were about to purchase, just a meal together. And my son wanted to see the money. And I asked him, son, do you know how money is made? And in the past, he would say that you have to earn your money. You have to work hard for your money. And I know what that feels like, and I know what that is, and you probably do too. And we've shifted now that you have to create value and exchange that for monetary goods. And when I share that to my son, that all you have to do is become an inventor, a creator, and create something that is valuable enough for someone else. When you create that thing for someone else, that in itself is the value, and you can exchange that for money. And he doesn't have any context about value creation or how money is made or money itself. I taught him that, and he just accepted it because he didn't have to unlearn a mental model that we were brought up that we are tied to our labor. And that's the new paradigm that I want to share here, that you create value and you exchange that value in the marketplace and you get rewarded for it. Now, this might sound esoteric, but I actually think this is one of the highest callings that we have in our work, to focus on being co-creators, since we are created beings, being co-creators in creating new ways to help other humans flourish. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things around work. And that is a choice. And that's something that we have presented here now with all the opportunities that we have in the agentic era. So the old question was, we have to work for our money. And the old answer was, yes, you have to trade hours, you have to trade whatever services, work hard for it, and you get rewarded for it, but not anymore. Now it's mostly focused, and we've seen this before the AI economy. Value creation is the main center focal point that I want to emphasize this podcast on, because now we have new tools at our disposals for us to not only create new value or recreate value with less effort, but now we have the opportunity to find ways to create net new value, which is what I want to dive into today. So recently, one of my LinkedIn posts went viral, and it's kind of weird that this one specifically went viral, but it was essentially answering one of Mark Cuban's posts where he was mentioning that with the costs right now to run agentic workforces to replace your current team, some of those costs, because you might be running multiple agents and the most expensive models, could be more than like twice or triple your current overhead expenses for your team. And the argument was well, if the investment cost to replace your workforce isn't there, it doesn't make sense to replace. And I get it, but if we're looking at just pure replacement, then maybe it doesn't make sense to run agents for you and for your team to execute. But this is a big rebuttal that I had, and probably why it went viral. Replacement is not the answer that you want to be looking for. It's about finding the net new efficiencies that you couldn't otherwise have, and find opportunities to increase value for your end clients and creatively price that or creatively bake that into your business model so that you can increase lifetime value, stickiness rate, maybe creative pricing, and keep a client satisfied for a longer time. And the nice thing is these models are going to get cheaper and cheaper over time. So it's the most expensive that it is today, and it's the worst that it'll ever be today, which means that it's only going to get better and it's only going to get cheaper. Now, in my opinion, the bigger opportunity, again, it's not just about replacing and using AI agents to be able to, do the work that you currently do. I think that's level one thinking. Level two thinking is looking at what am I able now to do that I couldn't do otherwise? And because of that, how do I ensure that I can help more people or help my client go further with this new opportunity? And this is where net new value is found. So let's define our terms. What is net new value? It's the ability to do things that you previously couldn't do because A, either didn't exist in your business, or B, you didn't have the capacity to do so. On B, like not having the capacity, doesn't mean that you weren't smart enough or you don't have the capabilities. You were just stuck in execution or having your time being drained by other focal points that weren't as high value as you finding opportunity and creating net new value. Because you probably have a lot of brilliant ideas. You probably have a lot of ways to innovate. You just never had the bandwidth or the breathing space to act on those. And now you do. Even one of my clients literally told me, I think this week or last week, that they needed to get out of the execution layer. And that was by bringing in staff members and creating efficiencies, of course. It's not just purely an AI play, but getting out of the execution layer, because that allows them to increase their strategic brain, how they think about their clients and the value that's delivered to the clients. And frankly, that's what clients are wanting. They're wanting those spark, those ideas, that strategy, that insight that they couldn't get with if they just hired another team member. So being able to get yourself out of the day-to-day is level one. But second is to do R&D. Figure out new ways to add new value in your existing processes to your existing clients, or new opportunities that weren't there before because you didn't see them or they weren't created in your business. And I want to make a key distinction here. Net new value isn't about doing the same work faster. That's efficiency. It's about creating something new, viable, that wasn't there in either a new offering or help your clients go further in a new way that you couldn't do before. It's about unlocking a capacity from execution and deploying that capacity into creation. And I want to repeat that because it might sound like it's like judo, like verbal judo here, but you want to unlock the capacity from execution, just focusing on execution and deploying that new capacity into creation. And I'm going back to what I told my son, money is made by creating something valuable for someone else. AI doesn't change that principle. And value is in the eye of the beholder. AI just gives you the capacity to reach and help clients go further in ways they couldn't otherwise before. And this is a callback to the classic business principles of getting yourself out of the day-to-day. If you're stuck in 80% of the weeds, flipping that to being a free time or a new value creation time 80% of the time. And again, to create new products, new services, new ways of solving things for your clients that you couldn't literally do before because you didn't have the bandwidth to build for them. Like, I'll give you a real example, and this may not be like the most brilliant example. That's just something that I'm personally doing. And I had an agent work for me, like an AI agent, produce quality outputs for me. And it was thinking and actually doing the work for me in about 30 minutes time. I'm not outsourcing my thinking. I'm just able to condense time and get to value quicker and have the agent leverage all the capacity, all the skill sets, and all the learnings that I have through just literally dumping my brain, but then also giving it all my writings and IP and strategies to be able to help me increase capacity, but also help clients get a 10,000% better output than if it was just me by myself toiling for hours. And that's just one simple example. I know I'm not alone. And it's not just about building new time in my calendar. It's to allow me to solve new problems of what my client will need eventually and being able to meet them in those needs and help them go further. Now, in this next point, I don't mean to be blunt, but if you can't point to something specific that you're building, delivering, or offering to your client that didn't exist before you deployed agentic workflows, you're still thinking in replacement mode. And replacement mode looks at the math of inputs and outputs. Can I do things faster, cheaper, more efficiency? Efficiency is great. This is beyond just being efficient. This is about helping clients go further and enabling you to pretty much create superpowers in the value that you create. And for me, it isn't about compressing time and replacing my time for client work. It's enabling me to focus on what my premium clients actually care about, which is strategic thinking, the relationships that we build, and helping them build the actual transformations in their business and in their mindset that they couldn't otherwise do. And in doing so, I'm able to build new offerings. I'm able to go deeper and much deeper in the client relationship and help them support at even higher levels that I couldn't otherwise do before. And that agencies in the past, literal agencies in the past, would charge like $5,000 a month just to do some of the work that my agents are able to do now. Let me share with you another story. I was on a call with a friend of mine and a founder, and he's starting with the agency of the future, pretty much a firm of the future, where in his ratio, about 70% of the client deliverables is agentic work, 70%, while the last 30% is a white glove human touch. They're able to do this because their positioning is to high-end and elite clientele, meaning that the human touch is necessary for that. It's part of their positioning. If their positioning was not high-end clientele, that'll probably be 99% like agentic delivery, and they'd be doing a volume play. They're not doing a volume play. They're charging strong margins, but they're also leveraging the technology to build a unified client experience and also help their clients, which is a crossover of luxury clients, to not have to think, just to have everything done for them, which it creates that customer journey, that client journey. And I just want to remind you, they're not replacing the human touch. They're not replacing judgment. They're not replacing taste, and they're not replacing that interaction with a human, again, because of their positioning. And this goes back to your business model, and this goes back to your strategy once you start thinking about net new value creation. How is your positioning in alignment with the services that you deliver, in alignment with the value that you create, in alignment with how you want to mix agentic work with human touch? Now, if you're still with me, I do want to bring it down to earth and give you a practical, like, how do you find your net new value in a simple starting guide? So here's how I walk my clients through, and this is the work that I do internally for myself too. But when I work with new clients, I always focus on their offer. And I know this sounds strange, but your offer dictates everything. It'll dictate your positioning. It'll dictate your operations. It'll dictate your profitability, your business model, your strategy, and it'll dictate the markets that you go after. Your offer is literally everything in your business right now. So I would start there. When you're looking at creating net new value, what are you currently solving for? I want you to ask yourself that. What is the key thing that you're solving for? Not the 3 or 5 things. What is the number one thing you're solving for? For example, if you're selling services or consulting, you're saying like, oh, we do marketing, oh, we do consulting, oh, we sell websites. That's not the thing you're solving for. The key thing is, what is the outcome you're actually helping your clients achieve? Now, once you identify that, you want to tie that to the execution to deliver those outcomes. What takes the most manual effort? That's the first place to obviously you can deploy agentic support. But once you deploy agents, you have some breathing room. And this is where your net new value work begins. Now that you have the capacity to focus on higher level thinking, what do you think your clients will need once you solve their initial problems? And you want to start looking at avenues that you can currently take on, and even avenues that you couldn't take on, like peripheral avenues that you couldn't do before because you didn't have the capacity or the team or the staff to execute on it. Let me give you an analogous example. So in my time in learnings, managing millions in direct response ad spend for small business owners. So ad spend for small business owners who needed to make a return on their money. This was not just like brand ad spend. This was like they needed to make a return on their money. One of the key strategies was to look at creating upsells or one-time offers and downsells. And the key thing that I learned about an upsell is that it is not a manufactured process. The key thing that makes the best upsells tick and people take action on that is in their mind, when a buyer is looking to make a decision, once they make a purchasing decision to move forward, even though you haven't solved that problem, in their mind, that loop is closed. This is really important because once that loop is closed, then they can start thinking about, okay, I solved that issue. I took an action to solve my current problem. It's the next set of problems that I need. And that's where their mind starts spinning of what other loops now become open. And the best upsell closes that loop for them naturally. I want you to use that analogous example to think about your net new value creation. With your services and your consulting, when you help clients solve a problem, what is the next problem that they're going to face eventually? And how can you proactively build towards that or actually help them go there? The inverse is also true. A client cannot think about the back-end offering or the next solution that you have for them if you don't help them actually solve the initial solution up front. So you have to make sure that you meet them where they're at, to make sure that you help solve where they're at, but also your solutions to lead them towards here's the next natural problem that you might surface. Here's how we can support you. As a matter of fact, here's how we already deployed a few workflows to help solve for that. And we're actually packaging them all up front so that we can support you even further. Now, that is extremely valuable. If you're proactive and thinking like an owner and how you can help them go further, and it's already done for them, and they don't even have to think, that is premium pricing, that is superiorly high value, and that is something that very few people I see are doing. So to recap, the next best offer you create solves a new problem that your client is going to face. And the goal with this is to, again, not sell your products or services. It's to go beyond the product or service that you're selling. You want to sell the end state. You want to sell that relationship. You want to get them the goal accomplished as quickly as you can, as efficiently as you can. And in my opinion, these are the consulting and agency companies that are going to win. The ones that can find ways to go up the value chain, deepen the relationship, increase your client's likelihood of success, and actually help them achieve that end outcome. And you marry your domain expertise to the principles that will always exist in business. If you help a client achieve more margin, more revenue, more donors, more retention, more lifetime value, cut costs, you have a model for net new value and a layer for value creation. So to close, I'm going to urge you to be a creator and an inventor. Going back to my son's earlier example, like my son doesn't know anything about agentic workflows. He doesn't know anything about like net new value creation. He doesn't care about any of those things or the arguments that we're having online. What he does know though, and I think this is a key principle that we can all take away, is that if you create something valuable and you exchange it for a reward, that is the economy that we're going to continue to grow into. Not focusing on how hard you worked or the hours that you took to execute something. There's still merit in that. But the real merit is how do you create something more valuable and solve for the right problems to help your clients go further? Because if you're like most agencies and consultants, you're not struggling because you lack good ideas. You currently lack capacity or ways to reinvigorate your energy towards ingenuity and innovation. So again, leverage this technology to give yourself capacity, but also to create net new value that wasn't there before. And I urge you, tinker, play around, create new things. Just do it for the sake of creation. That's the beauty of this thing. Like you can actually create and have fun creating, and it can become wildly addicting. It may not be good for overwork that way, but it's really fun to create new ways of solving problems for your clients. And once you do that, you'll be able to help your clients go further, enjoy more profits, have those margins, and be able to redistribute that with your team, your family, and have your family and community thrive. So build for building's sake. Have fun in doing so. And when you create net new value, focus on the human dignity at the center and how you're helping others go further and accelerate. Leverage the tools beyond just replacement. Again, replacement is level 0 thinking. I want you to go beyond that. And as you create something valuable, exchange for it in the marketplace and get rewarded for it. Now, after listening to this and you're curious about how you can create net new value, or you've already created net new value and you need support on how you repackage this, how you price this, reach out to me. These are things that I absolutely love talking about and I work with my clients day in and day out with. And I love to see how I can support you.